try to do some discussions on AM Talk. We know that it's a holiday. Many of you want relaxed discussions. I've been warned by my producers that no politics for the morning, but by popular demand, we have to talk something small. Okay, Nana Yoduchum is my guest for the morning. He's an entrepreneur, a consultant, a young politician as well, and we say thank you very much. And thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Yesterday, Alan Chamantin was all over the place. The Joy FM Easter Soup Kitchen, even before they had made donations, participated in the activity itself.
Yeah, with the wife.
What kind of visibility is that?
Well, thank you very much, Roland, and good morning to your viewers. Let me take this opportunity to wish my dear wife, Annette Obinewa-Duchu, and my daughter, Mameya, and of course my mom, happy holiday.
That's free advert.
Thank you.
I'll bring you. You don't have to. I'll bring you an invoice.
Well, I'll see. Yes. First of all, let me also congratulate Joy FM for a wonderful program. In fact, Alan Chamantin was very impressed with the organization. And myself, I was part with his wife. We spent about 4 hours interacting with the beneficiaries and also taking part in serving the people. It was a marvelous occasion to engage with ordinary Ghanaians, and I think that we need to promote such philanthropic activities. The second point I will add is also that the government must also put in place measures to mitigate the hardship or provide relief to the underprivileged, because irrespective of our level of development, whether we are middle class, middle income level or lower income level, we still have a chunk of our people who cannot afford the kind of privileges that some of us can afford. And it is incumbent on government to ensure that, especially during such occasions, the state can provide an avenue to even motivate corporate institutions, profit-making and non-profit-making, to support the privilege. I took opportunity to also do my national health insurance, and it took me about 8 minutes. I think that I'm an MPP person, but that act, if we're able to support the service providers in terms of paying the service charges, the service delivery expenditures.
So you're so happy with what the national health insurance
Yes, the acquisition. Now, it was very fast and it's biometric. So, but it raises a question about our policy harmonization, because I always raise the issue about resource allocation. The little that we have, we need to utilize as well. I don't understand why we can't even synchronize the national identification with health insurance, with voters register, so that we can have one point where national ID is issued. Now I can say that I have about 3 different biometric ID national identification, and that is a cost measure. ID, I have the passport, now I have health insurance, and even I have my national ID card. So we need, the government should try to harmonize policy, not only with identification, but in other areas. It was a great event, and let me say thank you to Opebia, the leader of your team. She did a good job with her team, and your presenter to Kwadwo did very well. He took us around, and I think he got folks from Ghana Medical Association, Ghana Pharmaceutical Society, and I think Vodafone Health Watch also. Also, they were there to provide medical counseling and screening. So it was good. But
by the activities of Mr. Chamantin, what does it mean that he's only taking part in?
This is the second time. This is the second time that he's doing such. He's undertaking such a philanthropic activity. If you remember, New Year he did donation to Owusu Children's Home. So he's a person who is always willing to give. And I remember he did say that we as a people, especially those of us who can afford, should endeavor to share, because that is the essence of Easter. The Jesus Christ sacrificed his life, which is the ultimate. I don't know if you sacrifice your life for your wife or baby, but he did that for people. Jesus Christ didn't know us, but he did that for us. So Honorable Alan Chamantin admonished us to give, especially during the time of Easter, to the poor.
Well, what do you make of the Easter Soup Kitchen in itself?
Oh, that's what I've said. I think it's a brilliant project. You have to expand it, especially if you could do it in 5 locations. It would be great. What I learned is that you only do it in Accra. And I think that if you can use your skill to do it in Kumasi, in Takrade, and also if you can partner with other state institutions to support you to do it in areas that you are not located, I think that the reach will be very good. And also in terms of getting donations, I think that you should start a bit early so that some of us can also put our widows might in.
So you're prepared enough?
Yeah. Because
it's all about budgeting and trying to balance your finances.
But the organization was superb, I must say.
Okay, so now, where now for Alan Chawantin?
Yes.
He's going to cool down his...
Not necessarily. I mean, he's doing a lot of work within the party. This is an intra-party competition, so you may hear less of him personally in the media, but he's going to engage with the party people at all levels. You know, this is huge electoral college, about 140,000 people across the country. Every community that you find in Ghana, there is a delegate there. So the most important thing is that MPP, we have reached a very critical point in our life as an institution or as an organization. We cannot afford to lose election 2016. What we must do is that, for example, you made a point that we need to undertake a scientific review of why we couldn't win 2008 and 2012.
Oh, well, we're told that you
when
have.
When you say that, other folks within the party will ask you, but he has also lost twice. What should tell people that if you look at his level of confidence, it should tell you that he has done reflections, he has reviewed scientifically why he couldn't win in 2007, and 2007 was obvious. He was winning until that unfortunate incident happened involving Mr. Lord Comey, who accused now our national chairman, Mr. Poafoko, wrongly, which he has still not apologized, which I think is very wrong, and the party must act on. I still insist the party must act on, because it wasn't true, it didn't happen, but they used that to change the trend of voting. In 2010, it was a different landscape. We, 2009, had expanded our delegate. Most of us could not participate in the selection or election of the polling station. But in 2013, Roland, I can tell you, it was different. As I sit here, I'm a polling station secretary, Jubilee Hall, in Ayawaso, West Wagon. I was contested.
So it means that for the national elections, you'll be part of the primaries?
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely.
So we have a wider constituency for which, well, voting will have to take place within that very voter population. Yeah. Over 100,000 delegates.
40,000.
If a campaign is supposed to be undertaken by an individual, what does it take? Because as far as we know, if you look at the responses, Nanado Dankwa Akufo-Addo really seems to be...
Well, I think there's no doubt about that. If you are a watcher of our politics, you know that, of course, that popularity stems from the fact that he has had opportunity to be our flag bearer twice, and that is a huge advantage. And I believe that if you put Roland on MPP's ticket twice, Roland will become extremely popular within the party and within the country. So I think that the team working for Honorable Alan Chawantin is not underrating that fact. That is fundamental. And there are a lot of variables that we must consider. The first variable in my view is that we have tried Nanado twice, at least if for nothing at all. He's been on our ballot paper. I have voted for him personally 3 times, 2008 twice, 2012. You must also ask yourself, what are the reasons why Ghanaians are not voting for MPP to be in terms of presidential? And if you also look at some of the constituencies, the reason why our MPs will win and our flag bearer will not win, we need to understand that. That should lead us into the reasons why we need to have a change in flag bearership, and I think that is very important.
How do you get to convince over 140,000?
140,000.
How do you get to convince them?
No,
because it's a constituency that you need to cross first before you go to the wider national constituency.
That is true, and I think that the team working for Honorable Alan Chawantin is going to put in place measures and mechanisms to reach out to these delegates. They know him already, and indeed Alan is also popular in the party. Look, he's been out of Ghana for about 2 years, but before this contest actually started emerging, everybody, including media practitioners, see him as the next most prominent MPP personality. And I think that he can leverage on that and promote his candidature. And he has a message. He says change for power in 2016. And MPP want power. I mean, any polling station executive who doesn't want power, then I don't know what type of polling station executive he is.
Okay. Now we have to turn attention to the subject of a judgment debt that has been awarded to a company called Bankswitch. Well, according to the subject, the Ministry of Finance entered into an agreement with the company for the provision of customers' valuation software for the DENSEPs under the Ghana Revenue Authority to help in revenue mobilization. Bankswitch Limited sued the government of Ghana at the Hague, Netherlands for wrongfully abrogating a contract signed with the Finance Ministry to provide the services I've already mentioned. And Bankswitch Ghana Limited requested the court to award it initially 853 million cedis for the illegal termination of the contract signed in 2007, but the court rather awarded damages subsequently of 197.4 million Ghana cedis. And well, we've had concerns being raised on the part of well, some government officials and all, but a gentleman who has been at the case is a former Minister of State at the Finance Ministry, Dr. Anthony Akutose, who has also challenged government to proceed to court if it suspects he is guilty or said to have played any role, because we say he was one of the witnesses to the case, especially when he was called as a witness by the counsels for Bankswitch, because I've been told that he signed the contract at the time when he was in office as a finance minister. What do you make of this whole issue or this very subject?
Sad, unfortunate, and too bad. You see, in between 2011 and 2012, if you look at our budgets, the allocation to social ministries like education, health, if you look at the allocation and you juxtapose that to the amount of money that we spent in paying judgment debt, you will be sad as a Ghanaian. And I think that with politics aside, we must ask ourselves a critical question. Why are we doing the same thing all the time? I think this is going to be about the 10th judgment debt that we are going to pay. And that is very unfortunate.
All of them are huge sums.
Huge sums. 187 million Ghana cedis. 97
That's
million
huge.
Ghana. That is huge. It can do a lot of things. It can change our infrastructure, the face of our infrastructure within 12 months. I do not understand why a government with all the qualified and experienced people we have, and you see NDC has been in government before. In fact, if you add a tie-up NDC with PNDC, indeed most of them have served in government for more than 10 years. So it is amazing that they will continue to repeat such errors.
But the point is that we don't have to, I don't want us to just limit the thing to NDC or because we've also had contracts abrogated for which we've had government also taken to court. The contract were abrogated also by the first MPP government led by the Kwadwo
that is to some extent.
Now, how do we make sure as a state we try to make sure we do things right in terms of if we have contract, whether they've been awarded by a previous government or not, and a new government is in power, whatever it is, we have to respect the tenets of the contract.
Roland, I need to say this. We shouldn't have allowed President Obama to come and tell us that for us to progress as a society, we must have strong institutions and strong men. That is all that we need. I do not understand why, if Finance Ministry undertook an analysis to realize that there is a need for us to rope in Bankswitch or any such organization to help us improve our revenue mobilization, and that institution representing government will go ahead and sign a contract, another government will come in and just abrogate it. What we must ensure is that most of the time we should allow state institutions to function independent of our politics and our political figures, because we are driving this whole thing as if that it was, if you listen to the boss of Free Zones, his thinking is that it was a contract that was actually signed between the MPP government and Bankswitch. I think that is wrong. It was signed on behalf of the state, which is government of Ghana. That is what it is. It is government of Ghana, and I think that we must ensure henceforth that such undertakings are not undertakings within our limited purview of politics. Partisan politics has little to do, in my view, with development. When you elect a party into government, it becomes the people's representative, and we must work to ensure that the institutions that are there, the departments within the various ministries that are responsible in carrying out these functions, will keep working. It is amazing that if you compare Ghana to a state like a country like United Kingdom, with about 4 times our population, they have fewer ministers, but they have strong institutions. I think that the current government, with support from members of parliament, MPP especially, we should give power to institutions to act. Honestly speaking, I don't see why Dr. Koto Osei, who signed the contract, should be at the center of discussion. He did sign the contract based, I believe, on the technical advice of his staff, mainly from the Ministry of Finance and Ghana Revenue Authority, and maybe SEFs then. So I honestly think that, as Obama said, we should know better, that it's the institutions that must work, and we should allow the institutions to play their role.
Oftentimes, the concerns from civil society has been that sometimes the issue of politics sometimes clouds the judgment of officials who have been put in positions to perhaps also play certain roles, especially when we have a new government in power, governments come to power.
Roland, I have had opportunity to work as a consultant on project for Ministry of Trade. You see how our institutions work. It is not the figurehead minister or political appointee who undertakes the work from the bottom. It is never the case. What it is that if government would like to construct a road in front of here, government will have probably, the party in power will have probably just 2 people in charge, the minister and his deputy. The chunk of the work is actually done by civil servants, public officials and consultants. So it is never the case that it so happens all the time that ministers will have opportunity to decide left, right, center, this is what we are going to do. They do so based on advice of these technical people. So in my view, what we must do is have some trust for our politicians. It is as a result of mistrust. That's why the NDC just rushed in abrogating the contract. So far as in their view the contract has been signed by MPP minister, they think that there is something in it that will favor the MPP. But I think that this contract was going to improve our revenue mobilization as a country, which we're going to use to undertake developmental activities. So in my view, it is neither the point that politicians always drive our development. I mean, every ministry, about 99% of the workforce there are non-politicians. They are people. I have classmates who have worked in Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Trade, Attorney General's office for about 12 years since we finished school. So I don't think that it is the politicians' fault. I think that it is the institution. And one weakness I concede to is that there is this kind of fear or aura around politicians. So if chief director is even afraid to act in a way which will promote good governance and promote national development, because he thinks that he must he must be in the good books of the minister. I think that we should assure our folks within public institutions and organizations to act independent of the politicians. And I believe that we've had unfortunate incidences. I remember when I was coming from Tamale, I met a gentleman, I was having a chat, and he told me, oh, I was brought from Accra to Tamale because I did A, B, C, D for an MPP person. I was saddened by the guy told me. So we should do away from
and these are real things. We need to live with them. So too, I'm sure if your party should come to power, they would also try to do certain things.
We shouldn't do that, and I personally will not support that. I mean, I'm a young guy.
You are just one of many people who take decisions for government when they come to power.
You also have input. You know, you have input, and I think that media.
Well, we say I guess we say it all the time. Now the concern is that, well, we still have, even though the concern has been that it was wrongfully abrogated? Yes. Because following that, we wouldn't be having judgment.
So it's not a concern, it's not a fact.
Well, we still have, well, perhaps even personalities in government who are still defending the actions that were taken. The point is, at what point do we need to take the interests of the country at hand?
At every point. And I think we should have started before Ghana got even independent. To me, it's unfortunate that Mr. Kwadwo will come out to support that, when indeed a court of competent jurisdiction is asking us to pay this whooping amount. He should be concerned for the poor in our society, for those who could not afford a plate of rice yesterday or a kitchen to feed their family. He should be concerned about them. He shouldn't be so much concerned about how the MDC can still continue to be in power. I think that you've made a point that we should be nationalistic and patriotic than self-centered political views. What Honorable Hannah Tete did, we can now say on hindsight, was wrong. It was not right. She shouldn't have taken that action, and we are going to pay for it. I ask a question: why is she still in office? I believe that in a developed democracy, she should be answering to the media at least, and probably tendering her resignation.
Okay, so we'll see the actions that will be taken subsequently on this very subject. Now we just have to pay and negotiate.
I think that we can put in, I don't know the system, how it works, but if it is possible for us to seek review, we need to do that. We should seek review.
All right, we're taking a short break. When we come back, we have a lot more for you.